right, let's talk about this dynamic range. This is so important. Dynamic range in music is like the difference between a guy that's like this killer chef, but he doesn't know how to make sauces or something. I don't know. The meal's incomplete. You've got to find a way to bring dynamic range into your playing. What is dynamic range? It's simply the range of your volume and how you use this range effectively to communicate more emotionally. The way I think about dynamic range, musically speaking, is there is a really low side of your dynamic range, that really low volume, a sweet spot where you might live when you're not thinking and not really trying to create the lower high end of your range, and then the highest part of that dynamic range. Now, you might be thinking, well, that seems really obvious. Why point that out? Because some people are not sensitive to what is too quiet, or where is the sweet spot right in the middle, or how loud is loud enough at the high end of your dynamic range, or too loud. If you're too loud, your tone's going to suffer. And the instrument can, especially the harmonica, can only go so loud. So you've got to figure out where is the sweetest tone at the loudest point this instrument can be, at the loudest range it has. And the sweet spot, being aware of just somewhere right in the middle of that really low end to high end. So in the beginning of this clip, you can hear me playing with this sort of the ebb and flow of the dynamic range and really exploring within one note, within a riff, and throughout the course of the solo, how this range can kind of flow. So I'm going to talk loosely today about ways you can develop it. It's all with breath control and being sensitive to what creates that low end of dynamic range, middle and high. So here's just a kind of a general example with no backing track so you can hear. Make sure this is paused. All right. Low end of my dynamic range might be right here. Let's start actually with the middle range. Let's start with just a normal right sweet spot. Low end of the range. High end. It becomes easier to recognize and control it as you're exploring and mixing these different levels, excuse me, of the range. So, one note. You got an opportunity in one note to explore dynamic range. Sounds like this. Let's take the 3-draw and let's play around with the 3-draw, resolving in. Let's go into a bend, somewhere between around the half and full in that zone, and then resolve on the 2. And the whole idea, I guess it's a couple notes there, but the whole idea is it's a very small musical statement, and you've got to start quiet, get louder, and get quiet again before the idea is over. So here's what it sounds like. I'll put this track in the description, and like it says in the title, I've got an A harmonica today. We're playing cross harp in second position in the key of E. Let's do it again. That's simple, right? You absolutely, to me, dynamic range is one of the most undiscussed topics. And I've talked about it on my channel before. It's been about a year, but I want to put a fresh approach to this. All right, so within a riff, so we're talking about one note there, but within a riff, and that's a complete riff really, but I'm saying a phrase, let's say, or a longer idea, a musical idea that spreads out a little bit. How can you create dynamic range there? Same thing, it's just a little bigger. You've got to find a point in the riff where you want to exploit the high end of the dynamic range, a point in the riff where you're kind of just cruising in, a point where you bring it to your low end of the dynamic range. And let's just see what comes out. we go. All right. In this example, I simply just took the middle range of the dynamic range, just right in the middle, and then I brought it up, and then I distinctly brought it down as the riff went on. There is no formula that you have to follow to engage this concept of dynamics. You just need to be aware of it. The more sensitive you are to being aware of how loud you are. I mean, if we step outside of this conversation of dynamics for just a minute and talk about just being aware of your volume in general, this is a big problem. It's a really big problem for people to be to understand where they are in the mix with regards to all the players on the bandstand, let's say. Instincts, you got to trust them. And if you don't trust them, then you haven't really developed them. You've got to take a minute and sort of feel what it feels like to play when you're not trying to push too hard or play too quiet. Just so that when you're on stage and things are kind of off or you feel like you can't gauge that, you've got somewhere to go back to that you can be like, nah, this is my middle. I'm just going to stay right in the middle for a minute. You can't always follow the band. Let's talk about that, though. One way you could do it is to do just that. Sometimes a good band will direct the soloist in a way that clues you into, here's your opportunity to be super dynamic and quiet at first. And that would be coming off of like a rockin' song and they're singing and they give the solo to you and they bring it way down. This is common. It can be. So would you want to start, in fifth gear? No, you would follow that lead and start maybe to come in real sweet and slowly build that. And as you build your solo, hopefully if the band's paying attention, they're a good band, they're building it with you, just below you. They're supporting you, but you're coming up with you dynamically, and you can. And if they're not, you can direct that. Actually, you can say, hey, doing this means bring it up a little bit with me. So you can follow the lead of the band, or you can lead the band. Let's say they're about to give you the solo and you're not, no one's giving the band any signs. The lead singer's not doing anything. Right before you take it, you can go like this. Hey, let's bring it way down. You can use your body and get down low on the stage even, kind of crouch down and let them know that something's about to happen, and they're going to be more sensitive. Within a solo, it's just another way to think about. And if you're a thinker and you like to analyze and strategize from the standpoint of what are all the different ways I can explore dynamic range, the whole solo itself, if you haven't really just taken a minute and thought about the way you approach a solo, is it the same way every time? Is it quiet to loud and then back down to quiet? If so, maybe you should change it up. Maybe it could just be like this, just an exchange of this dynamic range. In other words, you don't have to have a plan. You just need to be aware that it's something that is very important. And to engage it is enough right there to just be aware and sort of being sensitive to all of the different volumes you can create. Same thing with playing a melody. Like if you're playing a song, just in general, a melody, pick the spots in the song that deserve that. This is popping into my head right now. Our national anthem here. I mean, it starts off. There's obvious points where as the song is building towards the end, that's your height of your dynamic range. So that one kind of builds gradually. If you listen to a singer sing our national anthem, it starts off really, it starts off real pleasant, soft, and quiet, and then it builds. So melodies, same thing though. You can toy around with this ability to stretch your volume. So dynamics are huge. If you're not sure whether you're being dynamic or not, record yourself and have a minute and just listen back and really listen for the moments where within smaller statements, a smaller riff like we did earlier, where you can just identify, I can hear that And more importantly than just hearing it and recognizing it is recognizing what it did emotionally. Because you were sensitive enough to adjust there, how did that affect the music? How did it make you feel when you go back and listen to it? All right. Have fun exploring your dynamic range. I'm going to leave you with a little blues. I hope you guys have a great week. Just bringing that one note from quiet to loud. Hope you guys enjoyed it today. If you dig this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe so I can keep in touch with you, and I will see you soon. Thanks.